All right, good evening. Welcome to another edition of ten-tec Television. I'm Scott Robbins, W4PA, Amateur Radio Product Manager for ten-tec. And tonight we have with me Paul Clinton, WD4EBR, who is the Service Manager for ten-tec. And we're going to give a little overview of what the Service Department here at ten-tec is all about. There's a whole procedure we go through back here when rigs come in for repair that we go through, and we'll talk about that and how your rigs are worked on, etc. First, I guess, Paul, I would ask you, tell the viewers what we will fix. I mean, what we can do back here.
We could basically fix everything that we built in the last 40 years with a few exceptions. Exceptions are products like the Hercules 444 amplifier, which the final transistors are no longer available. Products like the Delta 2 are completely repairable except for the backlight, which was a custom part, is no longer available. But
just about everything else over the last 40 years we can fix.
To component level.
Yeah. I mean, typically we don't have body parts if you want a new case.
Right.
But components we generally can get for just about anything, and we can...
We do stock some trim parts. For an example, a very popular part is the little gray ears on the sides of each of the transceivers. We still have those, most of those kind of parts. It's basically component level repair.
Yeah. Very different from what the Japanese do, because the Japanese generally, you get 5 years out, they give up on stocking parts.
Right. That's right.
I mean, we will stock parts as long as we're able to get them.
Right.
I mean, it's just a matter of, obviously it's gotten harder now. We're 30 years out on some of these ICs for some of the old rigs, and we just can't find them anymore because they're so long out of production. But the difference is we make the effort to hunt them down.
That's right. We have a technician that generally, a fourth of his job is to get on the internet, find obsolete parts. And so far we've been very lucky. Some of the parts are very expensive. For an example, the counter chip for the old Omni D Triton 4 series is available. We found some. They've been obsolete for 30 years, but we have them, but they're $100.
Yeah.
So if a guy really wants to fix the radio, we can fix it.
$100 fix on a $300 rig. You got to want it. Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Okay, so we're standing here in the service department, and what I'll ask you to do is, when a rig shows up here for repair, what happens?
First thing we do, of course, is take it out of the box, and this is a very important step. We first search the box, make sure that we haven't missed any accessories that the customer sends along. Mm-hmm. We always ask him not to send manuals, not to send cables, those kind we don't need unless that could be, unless a cable could be causing the problem. We generally don't need the accessories. Next thing we'll do is to check and make sure that there's a letter. And you're surprised how many radios will show up here with just the label on the box, and the box is from a pack and ship company, and very hard for us to track it down. So that's very important. Mm-hmm. We have two methods that you can use to actually get the thing here. One of them is just a cover letter. A good description of the problem. The more information we can get, the better. A phone number, email address. The other way is to go on the web page, click on service, and we have a form that you can fill out. Second part happens, walk over to the...
Yeah. And you don't, when you get the rigs in, one of the first things you do is not touch it. Don't touch any of the knobs.
That's right.
I mean, how many times have we had a rig come in here where the receiver's dead, you take it out of the box, and you find the RF gain controls turned all the way down?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I'll get this other camera here. This is a shot of... I got this. Yeah, some of the rigs that have come in and been sorted.
So what we do, we have each shelf here is designated to certain radios, and each technician specializes in a certain transceiver. When the radio comes in, the first thing we do after we get out of the box, we put it on the table. We always read the letter first, and we make sure that we haven't missed any accessories. Then we take a good look at the radio, make sure that there's no damage.
Yeah.
And if it's damaged, then we put it back in the box and contact the customer for damage control.
Right.
We also put a tag. It's entered in the computer system. It's tracked by this number as long as it's here in repair.
Mm-hmm. You can see these are all sorted by model. We've got Omni 6s here. We've got a couple of Orions down here on the bottom. Looks like over here to the other side, or back over here, we've got Corsairs, power supplies. So each of the technicians then does what? I mean, is essentially that we got guys that work on certain rigs?
Right. We let them specialize, and that's good and bad. The guy really learns all the ins and outs of the transceiver. If he's sick or out a few days, it sort of slows down the repair sometimes. But it is beneficial to us. the next thing happens after it goes on the shelf. The technician will take the red ones are priority, the blue ones are standard. He takes them in order, and we put priorities on things. If, for an example, if we have your transceiver in here and we repair it, we give you a warranty on the repair. And if there's any subsequent problems, it comes back. We do give it priority when it comes back.
Yeah, now talk about the warranty on repair. How
warranty on repair is 1 year, and this covers parts and labor for the products or the parts only that we change.
Yeah, the same parts, same problem.
Same problem. Obviously, if you get another problem, we're not going to cover it. Now, the other thing is that we have to remember that shipping a radio across country, and radio's 15 years old, sometimes that shakes it up, and you will occasionally get a subsequent problem. But
yeah,
and we work with you very well. The next thing happens
right.
here,
Mm-hmm.
Technician will take it to his bench. He addresses the problems, repairs the radio, and that can take anywhere from an hour to 4 or 5 hours, depending on what we find, what kind of problem we have.
Mm-hmm.
Once the radio is repaired, it then goes on this shelf over here. And this is the shelf we store the radios until we're ready to do an air check. Now, we have, as a part of our repair process, once the technician is finished with the radio, it comes to this shelf and we do an independent air check.
Yeah, with a different person.
With a different person, and it's a very comprehensive. There's 22 different points on here that we check. Now, basically, we check transmit on every band, sideband and CW. We check the box. We check push to talk. We check it on CW mode. We make sure that if it's got we make sure the straight key jack works. We make sure the keyer jack works. We check all the parameters, all of the things in the menu that are applicable. We check all of that. And once the air check person is satisfied with the radio, it will then go on this shelf to be invoiced. Now, we've got 22 things on here, and if the guy finds one problem, it goes back to the tech. And we make sure that it meets this criteria before it goes out. Now, the other thing, our amplifiers are a little bit different story. We don't do an independent check because it's just not possible, but the amplifier has to put out 1,500 watts or full output on every band. All of the lights have to work, all the knobs, the meters, we do a complete calibration. Back up just a little bit. Each radio not only gets a full repair, but we check all the calibrations, all the alignments, and it's aligned and calibrated as needed when we're in there. Okay, once this is done, it goes on to this shelf here. And this shelf is holding for invoicing. And we have a computer invoicing system set up. The technician has entered the work that he's done, and I personally will read each letter after the technician and after the air check is done, and I look at what the technician has done to the radio, and then I check to make sure that we have addressed all the customer's problems.
Yeah.
Goes here for invoicing. When we do invoicing, our clerk will, if we have an email address, will, back over in the picture, we'll email you a cost. We have means now to actually email you the invoice, and you can pay online. That's a new feature that we've added within the last week. After that's done, it goes over here. We have 4 holding shelves, and A, B, C, and D, and so each radio that we pull up,
shot of that over here.
Yeah. Each time we pull a radio up on our system, if a customer calls and asks about the repair, we can tell what the status is. If it's in the holding bin, we know where the radio is. If it's been shipped, it's marked on there. So it pretty much covers the process, except for shipping. We generally ship by UPS.
And you always have the option to not ship. I mean,
right.
One of the things that's a little bit different about us, too, is we offer walk-in service.
That's correct.
But we don't necessarily do it walk-in off the street cold.
No. What we can do generally, if we're customer calls within a week, we can sort of set up a date, and I'll make sure that the technician is here. We get the radio or amplifier by 8 o'clock in the morning.